like, I've asked my parents this before, seeing how much that you've seen, and, you still got more of the world to see, Irene. So do you think about that? Do you think about, do you have issues with getting older, with
No, I don't. No, I don't. I could keel over an hour from now.
Well, let's hope so.
I mean, so I have learned to do the appreciate this moment thing, which was a lot more difficult, I think, when you're young. And you have ambitions. I don't have ambitions. I have nothing to prove, to anybody. And so I can just enjoy this moment right now. And that's all there is after all that's said and done.
I love that. It's true.
Sure.
That's it. I want to know how Tori feels about that.
About getting older?
Yeah, about like where your life is now, and do you have any, like what she just said, do you have any, things, ambitions that you're stressing you out, or are you just kind of in the moment?
I live every day to see what it brings me. I never know what tomorrow is going to throw at me. So I kind of just got to play it by ear. That's what I do. I look forward to every day. I look forward to getting older. I think it brings experiences and memories and wonderful stories. And I look forward to waking up every day and starting a new one.
So, it doesn't stress you out, like, when Harry met Sally, when she's like, I'm going to be 40. And he's like, when? Someday, like, you're not carrying that weight, it sounds like.
My mom was always like that. But I was always like, no, one day I'll be 40. Everyone turns 40, I mean, it's a part that everyone goes through. And if anything, I'll be lucky if I make it to 40. It'll be awesome.
I remember hitting 40 and saying, this is the best year of my life.
40 freaked me out. Like
does it?
40, I'm 45 now, so no, it doesn't freak me out anymore. I'm kind of well into it. But from 39 to 40, I was freaked out. Yeah.
Oh, no.
My mom would tell everyone she's not her age. She would say she's 24.
Well, I did not.
Well, you don't have actually the pressures that we had. I mean, in terms of women.
Yeah.
I mean, the main goal, the reason you went to college is to meet a man.
Right.
And the main goal after you graduate from high school is, if you don't have a man by then,
what are you going to do? Who's going to support you?
Who's going to support you? And you were kind of a social outcast. And all my friends had their children way before I did. Because by 28, you better have at least one child. So that's a pressure. And all your friends are pressuring you. I didn't ever want to get married, but I was, the best maid in a dozen weddings, and they were always throwing the bouquet at me. And I would, I would leave at that moment because I didn't care. I didn't want it. But I actually got married because, well, it's what you're supposed to do. In the same conversation about women, in New York, when was this? 70? I think this was 70, maybe 3, before the women's movement actually, was just starting. There was
Mrs. America, the movie, right?
Yeah.
Phyllis, what's her name? What's her name? Phyllis? Or Mrs. America, the one who started the women's,
Friedan, Dorothy.
Yeah, all those, yeah.
Oh, yeah. What a book that is. If you haven't read it, you really should, because it's a real eye-opener. So here's this woman who started Lady Carpenters. And so she invited parents of kids who were in Head Start to give the free lessons. And she said, look, you used to need muscles. As long as you can handle a vacuum cleaner and a sewing machine. You can do this. So we're learning, we're making bookshelves, we're just having a great time. And our super also came along. And our bookshelves were better than his bookshelves. So we were going along, and the news got hold of it. So they were going to come and, do a whole episode. Well, they did show up. Our super was gone, of course. He wouldn't have it. And the crew was saying to us, no, don't do that. Go, oh, well, how do you do this? Is it just a nail?
Is that a saw?
They told us to do that, and we just wouldn't. We were having a ball.
That's funny.
And they were really angry, very angry at us. And finally, they packed up and left because we were not following the classic female behavior.
Right. And how you were supposed to be. I mean, look at Rosie the Riveter,
Yeah.
There were many women who were asked to do things, but I do think, just going back to that, what I was saying earlier was, so Tori's generation might not have those same things to contend with. It's a different women's movement now. We are still struggling with, and this will be a later conversation, women who are struggling to get the same wages. We're still having a conversation about women's rights over body. So, so I mean, I know that, Tori, these are not things that are on necessarily like your radars, but I mean, do you feel like as a young woman, there's, I don't know, thoughts that you might have of, because I know that you sound like you're a little bit of an activist. Are you thinking about those things?
Sometimes I definitely do feel like as a woman, I'm supposed to look a certain way, or I'm supposed to act a certain way. When I sit down, I'm supposed to cross my legs, not to say certain things. I do feel those kinds of pressure.
And
that's interesting.
Is that would you say that's more associated with your age, or is that associated where you are, like where you live?
Good question.
Yeah, it could be where I live. I would say where I live, and just social media online as well accounts for it.
Sure. Well, we were talking about this with your aunt, Michelle, where, there's a lot of kind of like false ideas of what age is supposed to look like, where you kind of see things with a filter. And so there's this idea of what a woman is supposed to look like, what she's supposed to be like, what you're supposed to be at 50, what you're supposed to be at 45, what you're supposed to be at 62, what you're supposed to be at 80. You know what I mean? It's almost like your life is kind of done and over when you get to a certain age. And I think that, so I appreciate that we're talking about this, because I do think that there's a big problem that social media plays into that.
Absolutely. Yep.
And do you feel like your generation is like, I don't know, actively against that or participating in it? Like, what do you think about that, Tori?
I actually would say social media kind of helps me in a way, because it helps me see that there are those like 80-year-olds still traveling the world and, going out on a hike every day, doing whatever they want. And just, they have wrinkles, but, they're super muscly, or they're still like fit and well kept. They don't have to look like that bent over, what you have in your idea of an old person. They don't have to be stereotypical. I would say social media definitely helped me see it in a positive way.
Well, that's good. I think that if you didn't have social media, there is those ideas in your head, right? Of like what a
right, like the stereotypical like ideas. If I didn't have social media constantly changing and evolving, then I would be stuck on those original ways that people thought.
And you think, Tori, is that because you as a younger person are more how could I say tend to more like stay indoors and not go out as much, so you relate to people through social media? I mean, why do you think
we definitely do use social media a lot more? We do like almost survive on it every day, and
especially now.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it does account for people who do just stay inside and live off of it, but definitely going out in Austin in general is like Austin is one of those places where you'll go to Zilker and you'll see, you know, the 70-year-olds, the 80-year-olds, you know, hiking, biking, you know, running,
Yeah.
doing whatever. So it is like, even if you don't have social media, you still go out and you see people doing whatever makes them happy.
That's cool.
Interesting.
I love that.
Yeah, she lives in a really progressive, eclectic area, Austin, Texas.
Our statement is keep Austin weird is their logo, their slogan.
That's kind of hard to imagine considering Texas's reputation.
We have a lake that's called Hippie Hollow. It's where you go and you just skinny dip in public, everyone.
Oh my God.
I was not aware of this lake. So that's happening now. Yeah.
So that's great. So you can see everybody from across the generation, Gen Zs to what are you? Are you the silent generation? I'm sorry. Please forgive me, Irene. What generation are you?
Me, 38.
Silent generation.
Silent generation. So from the Gen Z to the silent generation, everybody's ripping off their clothes and going skinny dipping.
About
Silent
I
generation.
mean, I know we have much more freedoms now. I see women wearing clothes that are, to me, are scandalous. Scandalous. In my day, in high school, you had to wear a girdle, believe it or not.
Yeah, it's a good
You
story.
had to wear a girdle, no matter what your, body was. Because
That's like Spanx.
This is good.
Yeah.
This is so funny.
Yeah.
But you gotta hear the
like
reason
tie
why.
it.
the reason you had to wear a girdle was because if you don't wear a girdle, you jiggle. And if you don't wear a girdle, then the separation of your cheeks is visible. So we were these mono butts.
Yeah.
And that's why you did it. Because God forbid.
You show like a crease in your skirt.
Oh, forget it.
There was definitely
No zippers in front, no zippers. Oh, that was
Wardrobe
absolutely.
has definitely changed.
Yeah. Because
Or
women
patches.
can't-
I mean,
I just had a girdle on in a picture just for
It's a corset.
outside of her dress.
corset.
Yeah. Well, we
It's
had to wear
corset.
we called them Merry Widows. And we had to wear those, maybe not to school, but if you went to prom, for instance, you had to wear those because if you don't, then the boy's hand can kind of feel your warmth in your skin a little bit.
Mhm.
So you wore the Merry
So
Widow.
crazy.
It's crazy that you say that, like you had to wear it, like you'd be shunned upon if you didn't wear that.
Oh, you'd be expelled.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
isn't
Who
there
was looking up your skirt to check it?
Mhm. There was a dress code. If you didn't meet it, you were out of school.
Who was looking up your skirt to check it? That's what I want to know.
The chaperones, women or men? Who was looking?
Both. You couldn't wear.
In
You
my
couldn't
last
wear-
year of high school, you could wear absolutely anything you wanted. The girls would go to school in tank tops and like little
Right.
shorts, and
Right.
that was it.
Well, you couldn't wear anything above your knee.
Oh yeah.
So you were
My
monitored.
last question for you guys, and I want to start this one with Tori because I think it really, I've been watching how you've been interacting with Irene, and I've been really like appreciating and how you've been interacting. How do you feel about how do you feel about younger people, and how do you feel, people younger than you, and how do you feel about older people?
I'm laughing because she hates children.
I hate kids. I think children are annoying. And
Children are. Yeah.
they give nothing to this world but annoyance. They don't do anything.
Yeah. Yes. You said it. You said it.
Oh my God,
Useless.
you guys are in agreement.
And people are just popping them out left and right.
Well, considering the overpopulation, I mean that's quite a problem, isn't it? And you can't. I mean,
And
the
people have them
Chinese
very, very young.
Yeah. The Chinese had their solution, and
The one per family.
yes, But at the same time, if you had a master's degree, you're allowed to have a second child.
Oh, really?
And if the other person had a master's degree, you were allowed to have a third child. So it's eugenics.
Eugenics.
Yeah.
Oh,
So they were upgrading their population while keeping the population down.
The good old Communist Party.
You guys.
Well, you know, maybe there's some, I don't know. That's like
What
the
is
communism birth
exactly? We don't know
control.
what to do with that. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't know.
And it used to be popular to have, I remember a movie came out, well, I guess in the 60s, called Cheaper by the Dozen.
Oh yeah.
And everybody
oh, is that
was
the family
all-
with like the 24 kids?
12 kids. And it was like
Oh, it
he
doesn't.
ran them. Yeah, he ran
The
them
Matrix doesn't, it's sorry.
like, like an army. And everybody was proud. The more children you had, the prouder you were. Well, here we are.
I'm proud with none.
Yeah.
Very proud.
Okay, so we're not going to be having kids because you clearly feel very differently about the younger generation, but it does sound like you have a kind of a reverence for the older generation.
I almost envy the older generation. I love listening to them. I wouldn't say I grew up with my grandparents. My grandpa, he would talk for hours and hours about his whole life, and he would just go on, and it interests me. I love hearing like how things were different and yet how they're still like the exact same. I don't know. I really like talking to people who have been through years and years of experiences.
I'm the same way.
Me too.
Yeah, I've always, gravitated towards older people. Older than me, even.
Stop that.
Is that possible? No.
Oh, we're throwing some shade.
It's
You know what I
okay.
mean?
It's all in fun for
But it's
divas.
true. It's like the world. It's like history repeats itself. Everything that was happening, 100 years ago is happening
Yes,
again.
Absolutely.
And you kind of wonder, why don't people just learn from what happens in the past? And I think you do learn that.
Well, this has been a little bit of an eye-opening conversation to speak to someone in her 80s talking about how she sat in on the civil rights movement, and
it's
then
happening
speak to
again.
somebody
It's happening
in their
again.
20s doing the same thing
Yep.
for Black Lives Matter, the same issue, the
Same
same
issue.
issue.
Exactly.
still, all these
And
Exactly.
if you dig down deep, I bet you a lot of the things that she experienced, like in the opera world against women, probably will still happen in Tori's world and the things that she wants to do against women.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
we're dealing with it now. I mean, when we brought this up in our last conversation about, we just got our first elected female vice president.
Vice president.
Yes. Right.
20.
Right.
How long did that take?
Uh-huh.
Too long. Way
Yeah,
too
we're behind the times, this country. I mean, every major country has had a woman president or
Prime
prime
minister
minister
or
or whatever. Yeah. And we're not there yet.
Well, our country has had so many problems because it's been run by old white men.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
So let's switch it up.
Yes, let's switch it up. I'm on your side. Let me know what I can do.
Gonna have a
Go
revolution.
sit at the counter.
Yeah, we don't have diners
I know.
anymore.
It's so sad. So sad.
The other thing that's sad, the one thing that I regret is that our young people and old people and middle people don't mix.
Mhm.
Because in my day, you had this whole palette of people of many ages, and when you had these dances, everybody showed up, and you could dance with anybody. And now it's the young people that are with young people, old people with old people, and I think that's regrettable.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because I grew up the same way. It's like when you went somewhere, it was all generations.
Yeah.
So you kind of learn to be with older people and young people, and yeah, I get
Well, I
that.
think it's a cultural thing too. I think that has a lot to do with where you live. Because
That's true.
where you live and the time that you grew up in, because like when I was growing up and I was young, my parents always used to say, children are to be seen and not heard. Go in the other room, the adults are talking, let the adults be. And we were kind of pushed away from the grown-ups. But I may have done that a little bit when Tori was young as well. It would be like, okay, you know, it's grown up time or something, but she seems to kind of intermingle fairly naturally on her own now. I mean, she'll call me every once in a while just to hang out with me, which gets me all excited, and I have to work really hard not to be weird about it because
I think you're getting a little weird about it now.
I say she doesn't work
Whatever.
too hard,
I
guys.
don't
She
care. I
doesn't
don't
hide
care.
it that well.
But we don't have social opportunities to meet, you know, the gamut of ages. There's a, at the museum on Saturdays, they have a band.
Salsa.
Salsa too. Oh, that's
That's
Latin.
Saturday. Fridays is jazz.
Fridays is jazz. Saturdays they have salsa, and
I think
and
Sunday is-
everybody shows up.
And I think Sunday is chamber music.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
everybody shows up. It was wonderful. I mean, they bring the kids
it's fun.
and the old people, and again, people. If you want to dance, you got up and you went on stage and you danced with whoever is there. So that's the only social opportunity that I've seen in you know decades.
True.
Tori, are you hanging out with the elderly somewhere?
I
Me?
will 100% agree. Like, if you go out in a place and it's like taken over by people my age, you're not gonna find an elderly person in there. They're gonna steer away and find somewhere maybe quieter, calmer. You know, like we're probably gonna hang out somewhere a little bit louder, somewhere that appeals to us. I feel like we wouldn't end up in the same building as two different ages.
Mhm.
Well, and again, I think it depends on, I think you got a point there, but then I think it depends on the person. Like, I know somebody who's in their 80s who, when Disneyland was open, would drive to Disneyland and go dancing.
Right, of course.
Nutshell, you know, and he'd take all the young women, dance with them, and yeah. So I feel like I think it depends on the person and kind of the energy level and their interests.
Oh, and the atmosphere too.
But I do feel like there's kind of this interwoven thing that happens where, younger people maybe want to gain some perspective on being with
Some
the older
insight.
generation. And the older generation wants to hang out with the younger ones just to maybe kind of feel, I don't know, inspired or just see a different freshness to life. Would you say that's true?
Oh yeah, for sure. I see that all the time. Yeah, I can see that too.
I think that's
A lot of
what,
wisdom in the older people.
yeah.
Like I'm still learning from Irene.
Well, there's
Seriously.
wisdom in the
Every
young
time- every
people.
time
Be
you talk-
careful what you.
Every time you talk to her, she's like, and I got to replace the roof. She's 83, right? I got to replace the roof. I mean, it's like never like, oh, I'm 83, that's it. Life is over.
No,
Never.
I'm planting trees right now.
Planting trees and stuff and tearing the house up next door. That was funny. Do you know what I mean? So it's like
That was fun.
if there's anything to learn, there's a lot to learn from Irene, from an older person, let's say, per se, right?
And
But I don't look at her as an older person. It's weird. I don't, it's another person.
he calls me girl.
Girl, hey girl.
Hey, girl.
Well, I think there is a lot to learn from the older generation, but I also think there is something to be learned from the younger generation.
Absolutely.
Of course.
You know,
Absolutely.
I enjoy hanging out with my daughter because she's my daughter, but she also brings this zest for life and this energy and this excitement of
Oh yeah.
when I
Very
leave her
true.
presence, I'm excited to be alive again.
Of course. When I was younger, and I was more, less crazy than I am now. I get no more crazy than I am now. I will walk through the door and Mom goes, here's the hurricane. What's next? Because when you're that age, you just want to do. I mean, I wanted just to do. And it got her excited. What are we going to do? Where are you going? Can I go with you? So yeah, I can understand that completely.
I ran Airbnb for a while until this COVID thing. And my favorite people were young people. Absolutely. I seem to have connected with them right away. And it was just great. They had that energy level and the curiosity and the looking forward and the plans. It's absolutely wonderful. A lot of these people came from Europe, and in Europe it's traditional after you graduate high school to go abroad for a year. Get your rucksack and just go. And I wish we would do that here, because I don't think that high school prepares you for college, and college doesn't prepare you for anything.
For life.
And unless you've been around and seen other cultures and been on your own for a while, then you can learn something in college. Otherwise, it's just a continuation of high school,
Mhm.
only,
So you're not being pampered.
well, only drunker. But, you know.
I don't think any amount of school or college could get you ready for life. Or
I don't
set
think
you
so
off.
either. I don't think so either. But I think if you've had the experience of meeting diverse cultures and diverse people and economic levels and stuff, and had been on your own for a while, I think you then know what to study.
What
I
to
want
study,
to
yeah.
ask one last question. We're hitting the end of our hour here. If you had one message, each of you, I want you to answer this question. We'll start with Irene. If you had one message to give to people about age, what would that message be?
I would say enjoy your life as much as you can. Now, this minute, get as much joy out of life as you possibly can.
Beautiful, beautiful
Mhm.
message. Sorry.
I would say don't fear getting older. You can only
Uh-huh.
look forward to it.
Right.
Wow.
Nice.
I absolutely, I could just stay on with you guys for so much longer.
I know.
Well, thank you
Fun.
for having us. This was fun.
This was fantastic. And you guys really capped what a great conversation about age. I think we got some empowering context out of all this. Tori, thank you for being on the show and your contribution.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And Irene, I just have always adored you the moment I met you. So I'm so glad that you decided to be on.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I
They
feel the
called
same
you a
way about
hoot
you.
and you did not disappoint.
Well, you should have known me when I was a diva. I was pretty obnoxious.
But again, thank you so much. I know
Well,
that
thank you.
we passed the hour. We're so appreciative, and we just look forward to having more empowering conversations on Diva Talk.
Yeah, and keeping it up. I mean, I'm glad you're in another movement for equality. That's great. That's great. That makes me feel.
And we
very,
get to
very
be a part of
hopeful.
Yes.
it.